3:01, and it's also June, so I'm not sure how large our group is going to be, but I'll start. So we start and end on time. My name is Tammy Alderman, and I am the sitting chair, R&R chairperson of community and professional courses for CCDA, which is very exciting. As people come in, I'll have everybody introduced. And also we have with us tonight, our CCDA president is here, I guess this afternoon. Jeffrey Benson is also here. He didn't even care, he said he didn't want me to introduce him, but here he is. And I just want to introduce him to say thank you for way back, however many months ago now, 3 months ago, for just deciding that this was a thing that we needed to do, that while it is our job to create community with our singers, whether they be students or peers or our community or professionals, that we also rely on one another an awful lot to create our own community for help, solace, venting, whatever it is that we're needing to do through this. So I want to just recognize Jeffrey for putting this together from day one. And then I'm just going to have us, I'm guessing it'll be small-ish, not sure. So I think we have time to do this. Just state your name and your chorus. And then I have some topics that I think will be probably of interest to all of us. And I'll bet we all have a lot of ideas for things we've done, or would love to steal a lot of ideas from things other people have done moving forward with this. So again, I'm Tammy Alderman. My day job is as a high school teacher, but I am the associate conductor, read part-time conductor, part-time lackey for the Long Beach Camerata Choir, which is also we act as the symphony chorus for the Long Beach Symphony as well. Christina, you're next on my screen.
Okay, I'm Christina Nakagawa. I am director of Resounding Accord, which is a mixed voice chorus in San Jose. And I also serve on the state board as the chair for CASMEC, state conference.
Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie McKnight, and I direct the Arcata Threshold Choir up in far Northern California in Humboldt County, and also lead Community Sings nonprofit called Humboldt Sings.
Cricket.
I'm Cricket Handler, and I co-direct Canzona Women's Ensemble. And I see that Jill, my co-director, and her thing says Stephen Job's phone, so I'm not sure why, but she is on the call. And
I don't know why I don't have a picture.
Are you on your iPad?
Yes.
You have to turn on your video.
Yeah, it didn't give me that option. You know what? I'll leave and I'll come back. How's that?
Okay. Anyway,
Thank you.
she and I co-direct Canzona Women's Ensemble together in San Luis Obispo. So.
Tammy, you're muted.
Sorry, Mark.
Oh, hi, I'm Mark Clonico. I'm a singer and board president of the Stockton Choral. It's an umbrella group that has the children, three children's groups and 3 adult groups in Stockton.
And then next on my screen is Mary.
Oh, me. Hi. I conduct the Sunnyvale Singers and as well as some school groups.
And finally, Bill.
Hi. I am the bass section leader for the Sacramento Master Singers, and I direct Chanteuse, a women's choir here in Sacramento.
Excellent. And I know Jill, did you say Cricket is your co-director? Jill will be back.
She'll be back
momentarily. Okay, well, welcome all. Thank you for the work you're doing, because I know that I have found for me, I'm doing more work. I'm not allowed to go anywhere, but I'm doing more. And it's more taxing in a very different kind of way. So it took me a while to acknowledge that, because I'm doing it in sweat and and all of those things in I guess what used to be comfort of my own home, but now feels like the prison of my own home, especially with curfews. So just here we are doing more work, and to what end, I think are the big questions. So I was fortunate to be asked by Lou De La Rosa to also sit on the task force for Western Division ACDA. And we are the task force for innovation and best practices for community and professional choirs. And Christina and I are on that task force. And we had what I thought was a really fantastic get together at the end of last week to just start really deep conversations about what are we doing now and what do we want to do moving forward. And so I will absolutely, I'm going to say this, I'll absolutely recognize that I'm taking Buddy James's outline, which was brilliant, and sort of morphing it for our decision to get ideas from one another. But I want to make sure that Jill has a chance to tell us who she is. Jill, we just did names and where we're from and what we do.
Okay, I'm Jill Anderson. I can't seem to change that to say that it's not Stephen Jobs, that's my husband. And I'm the co-director with Cricket Handler of Canzona Women's Ensemble in San Luis Obispo, California.
Fantastic. Okay, so I guess, oh, Maggie, go ahead.
Just had a request if people could mute themselves when you're not speaking, because I'm getting a little bit of echoey feedback from the people who aren't muted when someone else is speaking. Thanks.
Oh, that just went real silent real fast. Okay, so I guess what I wanted a couple areas of discussion, and mostly I think I would like to hear from you all on things that you think you're doing that are going well, and things that you think you're doing or that you are doing that you think are going maybe not as well as you had hoped. And I'm really happy that we're a smaller group because I think we really can share out. And I know every single one of my best ideas has been someone else's first, that maybe I'm morphed to make work for me, or maybe I just straight up used it exactly. So I'm curious to hear what you all have to say. And I think the first thing on my list is creating community, because really the idea of this group of humans is community choruses, meaning we draw our singers from different places than our educational institutions, which I know many of us are also attached to, but our singers come from very different places. And so gathering them, holding on to them, giving them the sense of family is a little different for us than it is in a school situation. So I'm just curious to know what people are doing or what they have questions about that are out there. And since I'm hosting, I will just start with one quick thing. The Camerata Singers was supposed to have our final concert of the year on Sunday. It's our lighter program, I guess, so to speak, evening of song, which we try to do kind of salon style with some group things and some solos. And we decided to forego any kind of a virtual performance for now. And instead, we did a Zoom meeting much like this with myself, the artistic director, our education director, and our board president. And sort of what we did is talked about what the concert would have been. We each shared a couple of YouTube videos of, well, here's the songs I had programmed. Just to let you know the journey that we were going to take you through. We announced that our silent auction, which is by far our biggest fundraiser of the year, aside from our gala, that we're doing our silent auction virtually. And so we gave people a link to our ongoing silent auction where they can bid with closing dates and things. And so it was just an hour long, and in advance, we let our board members, our ticket holders, and our singers know that we were doing it, and opened up the opportunity for them to ask any questions in advance so that we could then just answer the questions that came our way for whatever that meant. The feedback was great. It seemed to have gone well. While we couldn't do a performance, we showcased some very excellent singers and choirs of what we had sort of hoped to do. So that's where we started with this little end of the year thing of engaging our audience, singers and board members. So any other things that community building you think you've done well? Which is always a hard question, isn't it? What are you doing well?
The group Chanteuse is new to me. I started with them in the fall, and many of them, the core group, has been together for a very long time. And so they have been close friends, and they have, with my agreement, been holding Zoom meetings every Tuesday night, which is our normal rehearsal evening. We'll be doing that again tonight. And very often it's just a social check-in, which I know is really important. And when I can get a word in edgeways around the cats and the dogs, I have asked them what they want to do. We too missed our end of year concert on May 3rd, and instead that week released a video, a virtual choir performance, our first, and to mark the time, and also had that available for a local event here in Sacramento, which is called Big Day of Giving, a big dog. And it's a huge fundraising event for the arts in Sacramento and counties around here. So we've got a really good response in the fundraising aspect of things, but we're still searching for the exact right formula for how to continue as an ensemble. I'm planning this evening, based on the conversation like Christina's talk last week. Thank you, Christina, for your slides, so that I could peruse those a little bit, and all the other ideas. There have been some really fantastic ideas that have been coming out of this webinar series that have been a tremendous help. But I want to try and figure out what this group of ladies wants to continue to do musically. And one of the things that I know that they have wanted, because we are a community group, we have a spectrum of musicianship. So there are some who learn the part by rote or by just coming to practice every week, and there are others who can sight read. So I am, I've tried to find music theory for choir directors or choirs, and found a couple, but they, I know that throwing the circle of fifths in front of some of these ladies will cross their eyes and spin their minds. So how do you know where do is? So I've been working and building up my own worksheets on these kinds of things to help explain them, and my wife is really enjoying them too, because she and I met singing in a choir. My hope tonight is to, in talking with them, to figure out, how do we continue to do music? Would you like? And one of my ladies who is exchanging voice lessons from me for piano lessons from her, suggested last night that each of them just sing their part for one of the songs and record that to us and send it to me for my comments on their voices. And though she is very gung-ho and has been sending me recordings of the pieces she's working on in her voice studies, I know that there are ladies in that choir that do not want me to hear their individual voices. So what's the stumbling? How do we get beyond that? Is that something, would that be interesting? So cut a long story short, I'm going to be talking tonight to ask them what it is they want to do. Some have participated in the virtual choirs. We're just, we have a deadline this week for submitting for a second one. And one of my ladies, a 20-something lady who went to Concordia College, is really smart and has all the tech savvy, is putting those together for us. And it's really nice to have someone with those skills, so I don't have to learn them, because that's a lot. I thought I was done with a steep digital climb after I retired. But I want to find out from my ensemble what they would like to do. If after the first concert I had with them in December, with this little tiny group of 13, I added another 7 people to it, and those people are just kind of in the group and not a part of the group because they've only been rehearsing for 2 months and then yank out. We go like this, like so. Christina, my daughter Allison, feels that way with your group. resounding accord. And it's not a comment on you, it's just that she's just feeling disconnected. And I know that that's hard for those new people to be connected. So what I'm trying to do in the long run is to just find out what they want and see if I can provide something that will be meaningful for them musically and satisfactory artistically.
Christina, I know that that you created a survey for your singers, and you were in equal parts surprised and also informed on some of the feedback you got. And I'm not sure that everybody has heard Christina's talk yet, but just in case, just the recap of what your survey was, what it entailed, and what you found.
Sure. So the survey was kind of twofold. So I first did a really simple Google form, and this was back in March when we knew that the shelter in place was happening. Of course, then at that point, we were thinking like, okay, if we're out for 3 weeks, then we'll be able to rehearse in person for 6 weeks, and we can still do a concert May 30th and 31st. And of course, that all changed very quickly. But the survey was pretty simple. I just asked everybody, while we were apart, how did they want to spend their time? Did they want to do only in-depth music practice? Did they want to do a mixture of music practice and community building, or did they only want social time? And I was really, personally, because of where I was emotionally at the time, I was really happy that no one wanted only music practice. Everybody, for the most part, wanted either the mixture or they only wanted community time. And that was really, that helped to guide where we were going. And then I asked them questions like, what would benefit you during this time? And then the final open-ended question was, how do you want to spend this time? What ideas do you have? And one of my singers even suggested, like, let's do a informational how-to on how to actually tie your tie, because there are still middle-aged adults who don't know how to tie ties. And it was cute. And the various things that we did over the last, however long it's been, all the days run together. It's the 20th of April, May at this point. That it was fun, and it was time well spent. And so then the second survey I did was in person with them in the last couple of weeks, just asking, like Bill mentioned and Tammy mentioned, what do you want to do in the fall? Assuming that we have to stay in this forum, in this way, what's going to be the thing that's going to make you show up every week? And how can I support you, and all of that it, when we're not working toward a performance in the traditional way, what's going to help the most? And I think, Jeffrey, are my slides up on the website from last week, or will they be soon? I would assume.
They probably are. I haven't actually checked. I'll check now, but I sent them to Tony to add, so
cool.
They
so
should.
You all can get those on the CCDA website.
They're there. I looked at them. They're great. They
awesome. Good. Yay.
Nancy joined us. Nancy, we many minutes ago just introduced ourselves, who we are, where we're from, and what choirs we're conducting currently. Well, rephrase. What choirs we are building community with currently.
Oh, sorry, I had a problem. Our internet's really slow today. I'm not sure why. So it took like 10 minutes for the door to connect.
No worries. No worries.
I conduct the Poway Community Choir that I started about, I guess 4 years ago. It runs through the Poway Adult School. So it's a choir that they join. It's like a class. So they pay for the class through the adult school. And so our last rehearsal was March 10th. And I didn't, kind of in the midst of everything, I liked the idea from Christina. So I have a survey ready to go. I'm going to send them a survey. I have connected with them and they appreciate that. I send them information about Eric's virtual choir, which some of the members chose to do. One of my choir is made up of about half of my former students, so alumni, and my former principal, and lots of community people. It's a wide range. It's a non-audition choir, but we were preparing for a concert that was going to happen on April 3rd that obviously didn't happen. And so they still have all their folders. And so I kind of, I mean, there's no way, I guess they could drop them off at my house, but because the school's not open and everything's closed. So I'm going to send a survey out, like Christina. We like that idea, and just short to get kind of their feedback. They did appreciate me connecting and sending them information, and I told them that the possibility of doing a virtual choir, but I don't know. Now that I'm a little bit more with the choral coach and things, I'm going to send them information about that. I was kind of waiting for these different webinars that I've attended to get a little bit more information so I could share that with them as well. And then it's a little bit more informed survey, so I appreciated the meeting last week. But we don't normally meet during the summer. We actually had planned on going to Ireland and Scotland, but I had canceled that in January, which I'm really happy about. We don't meet again until normally starting in September. So I'm going to do the same thing to see what, because this is a class that they pay for. And so it's whether they're willing, do you want to, I don't know. I'm just going to go with the flow and see what feedback I get from them. So that's where I'm at. Mark has a question.
Yeah, we kind of did a couple of surveys. We did one with our adults back in March about getting together for a social Zoom meeting, and nobody wanted to do that. So we started sending out biweekly newsletters that basically had any new information that was going on, plus reminders about staying safe. I mean, every week we have a whole thing in there about hand washing, masks, social distancing, and that kind of thing. At the outset, we were asking, does anybody need any help? Anybody need any errands run? And then it's just been, we then have singers send us videos or recordings, and so we've posted those on the bulletin. Some of them are humorous, some of them are serious. We did one virtual choir with one of our youth groups, and we sent it out as a thank you to first responders and medical workers and that kind of thing a couple of weeks ago. Right after the shutdown hit, it was the third week in March. We had just finished a concert in March, and we did Dan Forrest's I Thank You God for This Most Amazing Day, and we put that up on our website for sort of a musical gift to our community. We're doing a virtual choir with our chamber group this summer as a dry run to see if it'll work with the larger group. Doing the same thing with one of the children's groups. So we're trying to, iron out all the wrinkles. We had our first rehearsal last night, and those of you who are conductors can appreciate this. We heard a lot more negatives than we heard positives about it. So I talked to our conductor this morning, and we're going to make some adjustments in that. But hopefully we can smooth out that whole process before we start up again in the fall. But things are moving really quickly here in San Joaquin County. They've gone from, late phase 2 to phase 3 in a week. And so, God only knows what it's going to look like 6 weeks from now. So that's what we've been doing.
I'll just, if I may, Tammy, I'll just share, I loved Christina's idea about the survey. So I went ahead and sent one out to my community. I conduct, in addition to my university work, I conduct a community chorus based in Palo Alto. I just sent out a survey. We, like Nancy, and probably like most of you, we don't normally rehearse over the summers, but my singers and sort of did an informal survey back in early May, and I asked them, did they still want to keep meeting? And they said, maybe once every 2 weeks. So we're doing the first and third Tuesday nights of the summer, June, July, August, even though we would normally not gather again until mid to late September. And I went ahead and did a little bit more formal survey just through Google Forms, and again, kind of kept it short like Christina's, and thankfully she just let me copy hers, and I tweaked it a little bit because hers had been, a couple months ago when we thought maybe we could all do some things that we certainly aren't going to be able to do. But I was really pleased with the response. And sort of similar to what Christina found, most everybody, I gave them the question that Christina had asked about, would you rather do mostly music making, mostly community time, or both? And I think out of 30 responses, only 2 people said only music. Everybody else said they wanted to do both, and that's been really exciting. And then I gave them a list of probably 10 or 12 ideas of things that we might do between summer and fall. And I'm definitely getting some responses about, sort of anti-virtual choir stuff, because they're just scared and they don't enjoy doing it. So tonight is our first meeting in the past month, and I'm going to share with them, if you were on the call last week, that Troy Robertson talked about Core Amor and some of the work he's doing. He's got these practice tracks that really make the virtual choir. I mean, it's still probably scary for folks, but they make it a lot easier because it's got the click track with the subdivision in your head. And tonight I'm just gonna do the Ave Verum Corpus that Troy put together for people to sort of steal. And have them, we're gonna practice it with the click track together. And I'm gonna do that for the 1st and 3rd of this month. And then at the end of the 3rd week, I'm gonna just ask them, now that we've practiced it and we know what I'm looking for, is this a little less scary? Do we wanna try it or bag it? And that's fine too. I don't have a huge need to do one, but I want them to make a decision not based out of fear that it's too scary and too hard, but based on seeing that they're capable of actually doing it. And if they still choose not to, that's fine too. I don't know if that's necessarily the good that I'm doing. I'm just sort of copying what other friends and smarter colleagues than me are doing and sort of making it work for my organization.
I think that's what we do. I mean, none of us invented conducting. We just take what somebody else did and do it our way. So thank you for everyone that came before us to give us something to steal and do our own way. There it is. I'm looking at faces in this group that I'm pretty sure I've stolen from you all, so I appreciate you. And this isn't a next area. There's so many areas, but then the next part of this is if we can manage to retain our singers, which is the community part that we've just sort of been talking about and engaging them, what do we do about that audience that we are desperately hoping, let's skip audience yet. Performing, we don't know when we're going to be allowed. So I don't know, has anybody been sitting with their board brainstorming ideas? Are they only going to be small groups? Are you planning on new venues? Are you planning on only virtual choirs? None of us can have actual plans. And I just want to say one other thing really quick that I felt was valuable for me to say out loud to the group when we met last week. I work for a school district that is indecisive, as an understatement. And I felt very much like I was when you pick up an animal, including a baby, just by the middle like this, and then their limbs are floundering. I mean, I knew there was something around me, but that it was just leaving me out there to know nothing and feel so uncomfortable. So I've been operating under the precedent that if I know things, I will tell you the things I know. And if there are 7 plans, I'm going to tell you that we have 7 plans. And I'm not going to wait to tell you that there's one plan on the day that I know that's the one plan, because I think people are scared of having no plan. I think this is not scary only because of what it is. It's because we don't know what or when we get to do anything. That's the scary, if there's an end, you mark it on the calendar and you can do anything for 2 months, So I think that's for me, that's the scary. So I'm just curious to know what are you thinking it might be your plan B or L or Q, as it were, moving down the road? Because plan A would be let's have a concert season. starting in October, that'd be great. That'd be great. So anybody got a great, I saw Bill's hand, and Cricket, why don't you start?
I don't know that it's any, of course, it's not something that's immediate, but I'm looking at when we reach a level with the state that says it's okay for us to meet outside. I've got some ideas about places where we can meet that are resonant and cathedral-like, where we could meet. And one of the ladies that the president of my board has suggested is that we start preparing Christmas music and then do recordings of those outdoor rehearsals and prepare those for a curated concert in December. And it's just a matter of timing, because it's, you know, getting outside is, I have been outside a lot, I've walked a lot, and I haven't had, because of the neighborhood I live in, I haven't come across a lot of people, so I don't have to wear a mask, and I can just walk and come back home and be a normal person, and that feels kind of good. But anyway, the timing that this would all fall under is still questionable, and I don't know what to do with that. I mean, I know one of my members just flew to Los Angeles to visit her son, and so I can't possibly see her for 2 weeks. So I don't even know when that would be able to start this up.
Okay, what's your plan, Elle?
Well, we realized that we needed, at least we felt we needed to make some kind of a decision. I mean, we were amazingly fortunate. We only do 2 concerts a season, and we were able to give our concert on March 1st, right before all of this shut down. So thank goodness for that. And then we finally decided with the board that we would cancel our November concert. We have a concert traditionally the first weekend of November. Right now, our venue, which is a church, hasn't opened, and once they do open, they're telling people no one over 65 and no singing and no, so we couldn't even possibly, even if we wanted to, we could not use that venue. But we felt this would give us a chance to try to move forward and figure out what could work for the ensemble. Of course, I'm appreciating everything that I'm hearing and learning in the webinars. We have sent out 2 emails to our patrons that had music from our concert that we were able to give, and we're doing something we did something special for Mother's Day. For Father's Day, we've asked our singers to submit photos of themselves with their dads, and our wonderful general manager is going to put them together in a montage. We still have to pick the music that's going to go underneath that. And we're going to have a kind of a gathering debrief. We usually have a debrief in May. We didn't do that, but we're going to have a gathering in June. We'll do that survey. I love that survey, Christina. That was great. We're actually going to collaborate. Scott Glisson, who is, I guess this is just finished his 3rd year as the choral director at Cal Poly. He called us all together in the community. We're going to do some kind of a masked choir, virtual choir, encompassing many of the choral organizations, large and small, in the community, and the Cal Poly people are going to put it together for us. So that's great. That relieves us of having to do that. And Cassie Tarantino, who many of you know, she's going to do virtual choir with her community group that's not video, that's just audio, because it takes some of the scariness out of being in front of the camera and people seeing you sing. That might be an idea that we might use if the women are resistant, if we wanted to do a virtual choir on our own. So we're still figuring it out, but I'm glad we made the decision so we could just move forward and do whatever's next.
Bill. Yeah.
Hi. Well, I echo what Cricket said. I wanted to make sure that you all understood when she said masked choir, not masked choir. So, because it sounded like masked. We're not going to sing in masks. The one thing that I would add to what Cricket has said we'll do our debrief virtually later in June. I had the idea, I'm a retired voice teacher as well as a choral conductor, and I had the idea of doing maybe 15 to 20 minute sessions of breathing and vocalizing, maybe every other week, like Jeffrey is doing with his group. I don't know that whether I would start conducting music yet, but I would like to keep everybody vocally active, using their bodies and using their breath. And so that's something that I intend to start in July, maybe just twice in July, twice in August, and keep it going in the fall.
I think that's fantastic. One of the topics of discussion on the other board was how do we keep our singers' voices in shape? I mean, some of us do work with essentially, pros or close to it. But a lot of us, even in those ensembles where we may have some of them, we usually also have some people that have never run their own personal warm-up, even, whenever there's that directive, make sure you're warmed up before you get there. They have no idea what to do. So that idea of how do we keep those voices of all ages, sometimes that means a 14-year-old who's working through a voice change, and if he's not singing, if they're not singing, what happens? All of a sudden, oh, and then there's nothing, or an aging voice that is calcifying little by little by little, that if we don't keep it in shape, it just becomes more difficult to work with. So I mean, we've not met, our community choir has not met at all either, other than a couple of webinars. We just sort of went, well, that's I don't feel like we threw our hands up, but it also wasn't, we haven't met with them. Our course has about 95 people in it. And so a Zoom meeting seems a little insurmountable. So we've been essentially disseminating information newsletter style to thank God for Canva. If you don't know that, or there's a very free version of it, and it makes me look like a graphics artist extraordinaire. Oh my gosh, I'm so good at graphic art. As long as the arts are like part of their templates, I'm amazing. My color schemes are great. So we've been doing that. I don't know, has anybody else been doing things to keep voices in shape? Have you thought about it? I mean, other than Jill here, have you been thinking about that?
I like the idea that of doing the vocalizing. I've heard through the San Diego, I'm on the board for the San Diego Choral Consortium. And so we've met together, and then the members of the group of the consortium have met together. And it was kind of interesting what different choirs were doing, but they said the feedback from community, I guess in some church groups as well, was that they were running their Zoom rehearsals with everybody joining in the vocalizing at the beginning, with the director giving information, and then I guess breakout rooms to do their sectional rehearsals, and they had somebody who was leading that, which I'm not sure if I would have 4 different people who could do that, but I do like the idea. I mean, I don't normally meet during the summer anyway, so if I were to offer something, and I wouldn't be paid for that, but that's okay. To keep them interested, and that's why I say when I find out from the survey what their interest is, and once I talk to the adult school about maybe that they can make the price lower, since we won't have to pay for we normally practiced it actually at my old high school, which is more than likely not going to be open in the fall. So that's not even an option, more than likely for us to rehearse. So I like the idea of doing even like twice a month to do vocalizing, and for the people that are interested. I mean, because after teaching so many years, I can't help but teach the way I taught when I taught high school, that I do interject theory and sight reading and just kinds of different things when I work with them. And so I'm interested to see if some people would think, oh, well, this is a time I could learn more about music. So I don't know. I like that opportunity. Hope they do.
I haven't done it yet. I'm really asking a few of these questions to see who of you I get to steal from next. if I'm being perfectly honest and admitting my selfishness. Any of those questions? I know sometimes I come to these and we never have a chance to ask the question that's like, there's the one thing you're really hoping to get from this that was the topic that didn't get touched on. Anybody have that thing, like burning a hole in their pocket that you just want to just say, hey, what's everybody else doing about this? No.
Have people met with reluctance? I mean, there's a big part of that because I've had ladies tell me, I don't like my voice when I sing by myself. And I listen to their recordings and they sound fine. But they just don't, like anybody, when you hear your voice recorded, it sounds different from what it sounds like in your head. And there's also their goal to please, they want to do it right and everything else. And I'm wondering how to get people past that.
Do we get people past that? Most of us don't want to hear our own damn voices by ourselves. Like I don't want to. Yeah, I'm like, I don't sound like that. You.
I liked what Genevieve said. I did the virtual choir, Eric's virtual choir, just so I could experience what that, as a singer, what that felt like. And I was really glad I did, because it gave me a huge insight into the whole virtual choir from that perspective. But I like what Genevieve said, is to offer to the singers, just don't, just go with the first thing. Don't keep doing it over and over, and just and letting them know it's okay. And if you send something, and I think kind of just to empathize, or that's one of the reasons I did the virtual choir myself, is so that I could feel see what that feels like. And so I'm going to share that with them, that I know what it feels like. And so don't worry about it. And I think, I've had solos. In fact, we had just done solo auditions. I'm pretty sure that was our last rehearsal for our concert that was going to be the following month. And I had lots of people that wanted to audition, so they at least were willing to sing in front of everybody at rehearsal. So I'm hoping that they'll be willing. But I like the idea of just saying, don't worry about having to do it a whole bunch of times. Just have fun with it. Make it more fun and a learning experience. Then we're not going for like the polished performance. We're going for just learning from it and experiencing and to keep singing.
Right. I think, in one of the early webinars, the statement was made that this is not about achieving perfection, but continuing to do something.
Yeah. To share.
And I'll just say, I have now done, I've sung for like 3 or 4 virtual choirs, and I still kind of am anxious about it, even though I am now telling myself this. And I just got permission, the one that I just sang, he just, it's one of Troy's colleagues and who is working with Choral, and he just said, you know what? Do 2 takes. Do one where you just record yourself singing and don't worry about what you look like, and do a second one where you lip sync to yourself, so that then your video can be perfect. And I'll tell you, last night I was doing that, and I just uploaded it, and I felt so much freer to make all the weird faces, like, I know I don't sound great on this note, but we'll do it.
That's absolutely real. I actually recorded the practice track for some of my students, but I shared with them, so I'm like, I know what I'm asking you to do, and I'm gonna make your reference tracks that you listen to on your headphones and you sing with. And I was like, I need you to know how scared I am to do this and how nervous I am. And they're like, what? I was like, I know I sing in front of you every day, but it's not the same. This is scary. This is sketchy for me, like sitting in the studio doing this. And I think they were a little empowered by that. They're like, you're going to be great. You're going to be amazing. And it felt sort of cute to have all of them, who I'm normally waving my arms and, in various states of directiveness. It's empowering to hear the people you respect be scared of the thing they're asking you to do. I also feel like it gives me a lot more respect for my singers when I have to do the thing that I ask them to do, right? I'm like, oh yeah, this is scary. So I don't know that we'll ever get everybody, but I also did ask a few of my kids who didn't want to sing by themselves. asked them to submit, again, these are my students, but asked them to submit me a backup dancer video of do a camp, okay, great, don't sing. Great. Give me a video of you, swinging the baseball bat in your backyard. Give me your dog boogieing to the music on the camera. Like, just do something so you're a part of our project. And so then they could just listen to the track and do anything else. I said, and it doesn't need to be exciting. You don't have to actually dance, just be creative. I got the idea from a friend of mine who's a professional R&B singer, and a group that she was working with did I'm So Tired of Being Alone by Al Green, and this band put it together, and she at various times was lead singer or backup singer, but then also at various times was in her dinosaur onesie dancing around in her living room and not singing at all, in a full-blown onesie. And it was just really kind of cool and gave the audience a different thing to look at. So the idea of, just even if it's 30 seconds of them knitting a scarf, just here's the other things that the people in our choir are doing during quarantine to spice up our virtual choir video, because this is what's happening. As a thought. Cricket.
So we've talked with our board a little bit about what kinds of things we could do to stay connected with the audience. One of the ideas from one of our board members was that she would do some interviews with our singers, and those could get posted in some of these e-newsletters or things that we send out. Jill and I are going to do separate interviews next week, kind of on how we created Canzona and so forth with our ED. I'm just wondering if other people feel that our audiences expect, there's so much amazing stuff out there now on the internet that can be very intimidating, like the LA Master Chorale singing Hark I Hear the Harps Eternal, because they couldn't do their Alice Parker concert. And do we think that our audiences expect us to be doing that kind of thing? Will they be happy to see past recordings? I guess we could do a survey of what our audiences want, but I'm just wondering what other people, either in discussing with your boards or, what you're thinking to stay connected, because that would be the only thing that would happen in the fall for us, is our November concert, which isn't happening. We don't do any holiday, and of course we'll participate in that big choral thing consortium, with the community choir. So that's also an entree into, staying connected with our audience. But I don't know if other people are having discussions with their boards or what you're thinking.
Christina, sorry.
So when we knew that we were canceling our May concert, which was supposed to be this past weekend, that was mid or beginning of April, I filmed myself talking about what we were planning, that we were canceling the performance, unfortunately, but then it gave me an opportunity to let the audience and the greater community know what we have been doing in the meantime. I think the video was about 2.5, maybe 3 minutes long, and just talking about that, like what we've been doing and how we're still a community and we're still around, we're still here. We asked that it was also a call for, if you are a regular donor for us, and spring is normally your time for donation. We know that it's a hard time right now, but we still would appreciate your support and just to keep our programs going. And then I have a board meeting tonight, actually, or no, not tonight, tomorrow night, to sort of really hone in on what we're doing for the fall and everything. But I don't know about any of you. I haven't really heard from anyone in our audience or our greater community saying, either complaining that we're not putting anything out, or, wondering where we are, what we're doing, or, anything like that. It's been kind of silent in that way. I don't know if anybody has heard anything. I know that, like, my board chair specifically wants us to do as much pushing out of content as we can in a creative way by like interviewing singers or maybe hosting a composer chat, those sorts of things, so that we're still staying in people's minds. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a virtual choir. But I don't know, I haven't really heard anything from my audience about, you know, we miss you, which is also kind of concerning at the same time.
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing, Christina, is we have one of our singers is taking bios and pictures of our singers and then posting it on Facebook as a way to try to keep in the social milieu as much as we can. We have some recordings and videos from previous years, and we're trying to send those out intermittently so that the audience that we do have, which is mostly family and friends, all year long we took surveys at each one of our concerts. The overwhelming majority of people that show up are family and friends, and so that's our audience. They pretty much know what's going on, but we're trying to keep them informed with a little bit of entertainment and a little bit of humor with information about singers.
Mary, go ahead.
One of the things that came out of the San Diego Consortium community choir group was that they said that maybe it would be, some people were suggesting that a possibility of different community choirs working together on a community project and some kind of outreach project, whether it was something for the school, since the school funding, you know, people were worried about that happening, and that it'd be a way to connect with the community, maybe not necessarily by singing, but doing some kind of project that could benefit the school districts was one. And I was looking through my notes here of other stuff that they were talking about, but they said it's a time where you could invite singers, you know, people that haven't been part of the organization, to a Zoom rehearsal, and because it's kind of fun for some people who haven't done it, and say, and it's not as intimidating. Like, just come join us to see what you think, and it'd be a way. And then if you wanted to, you know, if it's an audition choir, you could meet them separately to do an audition. But to have singers in the group, say, you know, just a way to keep connected to the community, having the people in the choir reach out was something. I know that there were other singers or other conductors that were concerned about setting up a concert, you know, performance concert, you know, a calendar for the year, and then having to cancel it, you know, like setting up a concert and then all of a sudden we're planning something for, I know, Bach-Klagen, I think, no, it wasn't the Bach-Klagen, it's the La Jolla Chorus and Symphony are planning something already for January. Ruben has that stated. And so they are thinking forward and putting that in, but I know some other conductors are hesitant about putting out a concert, you know, for the, you know, their plan for the year, or even for 6 months, and then even selling tickets or whatever, but I don't know, then having to cancel again, you know, so that was the concern. So there's all that back and forth. And I guess the one thing that Jeff, you mentioned last week, that Charlene had mentioned about this virtual concerts, or some way to do that, which is interesting. So I don't know. I think nobody knows, because we don't have like Tammy, what you said, we don't have a date. We don't know, is 6 months from now, 3 months from now. You know, that's the unknown is the difficult part for everyone right now.
Mary, I know you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you. I want to also thank Christina for your survey idea. I have not done that with my board yet and my choir yet, because I haven't received responses from them. Then once I was all fired up about new things, having been silent for 2 months, pretty much. I hadn't been totally silent, but just to go back to what we, you know, have done with our choir, I have been sending out, you know, my favorite choir recordings of things and getting feedback from singers, just kind of casual emails. But I wanted to just share that I teach middle school, and I had to continue teaching middle school. I didn't have an option to just drop rehearsals. And it was very instructive. I also did a virtual choir experience for myself so that I would know what that process was like. So it's very useful. And then what has really worked with my middle school kids, a couple of different things. Just giving them something to do every day for music. Like I would connect them to music theory websites that are free. Sight Reading Factory and some other tools were free during the pandemic until June 30th. And so we teachers were given opportunities to try out these tools and see if we would ever like to use them again, which was really nice. But I think solo voice coaching, where I use smart music, and smart music is kind of limited, but it has some features that I try to take advantage of. Like it'll play parts tracks for kids. I also made parts tracks for kids. And if a child practiced on their own and then came and sang it one-on-one via video, I felt that that worked really well, and they were motivated to learn their music. You know, I tried to get them to learn an audition piece, a folk song or a solo song of some sort. And then that would give them a purpose for using that in the future. In other words, we aren't going to have a concert, but if you put this, you know, solo audition piece now in your pocket, next time when somebody says, hey, you know, I need you to come and audition for this advanced choir, you're like, I already learned, you know, this solo, so I'll just practice it up again, brush it up, and then it'll be ready. So they had a purpose in their education. And then I also want to say that we, like Mark said, our audience is pretty much elderly. They are family and friends of my singers. And I do have younger singers in the group, but the group has a lot of people who are close to 80 years old. And so that last day we had a rehearsal, also March 10th, Nancy. It was a little scary. There were already a few singers saying, well, I have, you know, pre-existing conditions, so I'm not going to come. And I understood that. And I felt like, you know, the official agencies were not giving us quickly enough, and the school district wasn't shutting down quickly enough, but our school district shut down on the 13th. So it happened all pretty quickly. But I just wanted to say that they're scared. A lot of my singers are scared of getting together again. And the audience is probably even older because they're like no longer singers in this group because they're former members and, you know, parents of some of my younger singers and grandparents of my much younger singers. But, you know, our audiences tend to be elderly. So just wanted to throw those ideas out.
I know we're getting close to time, so I have no amazing closing thoughts for anyone other than to say I took notes on many of the things that you all were saying. Christina, I know you didn't invent surveys, but thank you for allowing us all to steal the one that you, in fact, morphed into something that would work for what we do. And to everyone else, for just the snippets of reminding one another what we do, that we're all in a boat. It might not be the same one depending on our organization and depending on where we are in our own personal lives, but we're all in a boat, and it's really good to see people who are willing to keep rowing, or at least help and bail if that's where we are, whatever those things are. And I guess, because we don't get to hear it, and that's as the boss people of our organizations, even the littlest, tiniest things you guys are doing, even those little emails, you might not get all the response that you would love, but you're appreciated a whole heck of a lot by those people in your choruses. And I'll tell you, because not everybody thinks about telling you because they don't get to see you every week. So all of those things, you're appreciated. You're working hard. You're working too hard right now. And just know that one of these days we're going to get back into a rehearsal space and be like, wow, rehearsing live is freaking easy. I can't believe I ever complained about it. I think that's going to be a real next step of life. You know, you never know what you have till it's gone, or at least temporarily taken away for an indefinite period of time. So you're appreciated, and I think that all of those singers appreciate you. I know the other choral singers appreciate that you're sitting in these rooms sharing your ideas, and also, yeah, never be afraid to just send the email to the people you know. All of us want help, and all of us want to know that other people need help right now too. So that's that. Thank you all for being here. I don't know, we're at 4:01, so
Thank
everyone.
you.
You all are having a great week. And
This series of webinars has been so helpful and encouraging.
Thanks so much.
thank you,
Nanny.
Jeffrey, for
Yes.
starting this. Thank you so much.
It's a great idea. Thank you all.